Scientists have solved hundred-year-old Pharaoh Tutankhamun's curse. Recent scientific studies have challenged the myth of the Curse of the Pharaohs, which supposedly caused the deaths of many involved in the opening of Tutankhamun's tomb. For years, the idea of a supernatural curse persisted, but modern investigations now suggest a more scientific explanation. Researchers have found that toxic radiation levels in the tomb, particularly from elements like uranium, may have been responsible for health issues such as cancers and other diseases in those who spent extended time inside the tomb. This radiation could have come from naturally occurring minerals in the area or ancient burial practices. Elevated radiation levels have been detected not only in Tutankhamun's tomb but in other Old Kingdom tombs as well. Scientists suggest that the ancients may have been aware of the dangers, interpreting them as curses, and even inscribed warnings about death from unknown diseases in some burial sites. Additionally, microbial agents like toxic mold and bacteria, which thrived in the sealed, oxygen-limited environment of the tomb, may have contributed to respiratory issues and infections, compounding the dangers. These findings have shifted the perception from supernatural to scientific, showing that radiation and other natural factors, rather than a curse, were likely responsible for many of the deaths following the tomb's discovery. Let's talk about the history of finding the tomb, treasures, new clues, and the news circulated about the curse in the past. A year earlier, in November 1922, Howard Carter, a determined archaeologist who had spent years scouring the Valley of the Kings, finally made the discovery that would change his life and the world's understanding of ancient Egypt forever. His spade struck stone, and as he peered into the small opening that led into the hidden tomb, Carter saw something no one had seen in over 3,000 years. He famously exclaimed to Lord Carnarvon, "I see wonderful things." This tomb, designated KV62, belonged to Tutankhamun, a pharaoh who had ruled Egypt over 3,300 years earlier. Tutankhamun had ascended to the throne as a child, living a short mysterious life and dying unexpectedly around the age of 18 or 19. Little was known of this boy king, who reigned during the height of Egypt's new kingdom, but his tomb, astonishingly untouched by grave robbers, would finally tell his story. As Carter and his team stepped into the tomb, they realized its size was modest for a pharaoh, a fact that puzzled many. Tutankhamun's reign had been relatively insignificant, and it seemed his death had been sudden, forcing his burial in a tomb perhaps meant for someone else. But what the tomb lacked in size, it more than made up for in treasures. The entrance corridor was packed with rubble and broken relics, almost as if it had been hastily sealed and forgotten. Beyond that lay the antechamber, an extraordinary sight that made Carter's heart race. The chamber was filled with golden couches, magnificent thrones, and elaborate chariots, all laid out as if the boy king would continue his daily life in the afterworld. Everything Tutankhamun would need in the afterlife, from food to games, from weaponry to clothing, was piled high around him. At the heart of the tomb was the burial chamber, its walls painted with vivid scenes of Tutankhamun's journey into the afterlife, guided by the gods. The chamber was dominated by a series of gilded shrines encasing the pharaoh's sarcophagus, each more ornate than the last. It was as though Tutankhamun had been shielded by layers of divine protection. Inside the stone sarcophagus lay 3 nested coffins, the innermost made of solid gold. When they opened this final layer, there lay the mummy of Tutankhamun himself, his face covered by a spectacular death mask. This mask, crafted from gold, inlaid with lapis lazuli, quartz, and other precious stones, became the most iconic artifact from ancient Egypt. The serene face of the mask captured the likeness of the young king, adorned with the royal symbols of a cobra and vulture, representing the 2 kingdoms of Egypt. Beneath the mask, Carter's team found the mummified body of the boy king, covered with amulets and surrounded by treasures meant to safeguard his soul in the perilous journey to the afterlife. Beyond the burial chamber, another room awaited, the treasury. Here, statues of gods and animals stood guard over Tutankhamun's most sacred belongings. The room contained the king's canopic chest, holding the organs that had been meticulously removed during the mummification process, each organ placed within intricately carved alabaster jars. There were model boats to carry the king on his voyage across the celestial Nile and statues of Anubis, the god of mummification, eternally watching over his charge. Among the most sacred items was the Anubis shrine, placed at the center of the treasury. a silent protector of the pharaoh's journey. The tomb revealed more than 5,000 artifacts, including ceremonial weapons, golden sandals, lavish jewelry, and furniture carved from ebony and ivory. Every item had a purpose, ensuring the boy king's comfort in the afterlife. As Carter marveled at the treasures, questions began to arise. Why was the tomb so small for a king? Was it truly built for Tutankhamun, or had it been hastily prepared for his unexpected death? Some believed that there might be more to the tomb than met the eye. Years later, in the early 21st century, advanced radar scans were conducted on the tomb's walls, stirring new excitement. These scans hinted at the possibility of hidden chambers beyond the northern and western walls of the burial chamber. Could these secret rooms belong to Queen Nefertiti, the legendary beauty and stepmother of Tutankhamun, whose tomb had never been found? Archaeologists eagerly followed these clues, and Egyptologists debated fiercely over the tomb's secrets. In 2015, it seemed that new discoveries were on the horizon. The scans indicated mysterious voids, sparking a theory that Nefertiti herself might rest beyond the walls, sharing the tomb with her stepson. However, further investigations in 2018 brought disappointing news. No definitive evidence of hidden chambers could be found. Still, some continue to believe that Tutankhamun's tomb has not revealed all its secrets and the mystery lingers on.